Hello and welcome to this MTC at Home Digital Photography Masterclass. My name is Jason Biddick and I've been a counsellor at MTC for the past 7 summers. So this is actually part 2 of the beginner series. If you haven't seen the first one, pause this video and go take a look at that one. In that video, we cover the different types of cameras and how you use them. What we'll be covering today is the editing side of digital photography. We're going through all the different types of software that you can use and just learning how to make those photos that you've taken a bit more vibrant, a bit more spectacular. We'll be covering how to crop and straighten your image, as well as some color corrections that you can make. After this, I'll be showing you in Adobe Lightroom how you can do the same thing. Later on, there will be an advanced class covering a lot more in depth how to use this particular piece of software. What you'll need for this class is either a phone or a computer. The phone can be either Android or iOS based, and the computer can be either Windows or Mac. The functionality is very similar, so you should be able to follow along either way. We'll be covering a range of editing software that comes both free with the computer or your phone to the more advanced ones that you have to pay for, such as the Adobe products. For today, I'll be showing how to edit on an Android phone and a Windows-based computer, but as I said, the functionality is very similar to if you were using an iOS or a Mac product. So we have a bunch of images ready to go, ranging from different conditions and settings, so let's get to it.
Alright, so editing on phones is very simple actually. So basically just scroll to the picture that you want to edit. So for this one, got a nice picture of a couple of swans and some ducks out on the lake here. To edit, so this is using Android. I believe that iOS would be very similar. You click on the little button there to bring up all the different settings, and I want to click on edit. From here, I've got a bunch of different tools on my phone actually. You can get a free version of Photoshop Express. For this one though, I'm actually just going to use the standard Photos app. Right, so from here, it opens up with a bunch of different like filters, presets that you can do. Very similar to Instagram in terms of what you want, like what you can do as well. I'm just going to go straight into cropping. So from here, if you want to crop, you just use these little handles just on the side. I want to have it to be the original ratio though. I don't want it to be free. So that's how you crop. Straighten, you just use your fingers along the slider along the bottom here if you want it to, or you can use auto. I'm just going to keep it at 0. It looks pretty straight to me. In terms of adjustments, you can change the light level, so your exposure. You can take up the color, increase the color, make it a bit more vibrant. That's sort of, for me that would be a bit too much. It's nice to have a little bit of color, drop the light a little bit. The water and all that's nice and blue. And then opening up the color and light just allows you to change it a little bit more, so your exposure, your contrast, and all of that. And same thing with the color as well. And then once you've got it all looking how you want it, basically hit save a copy, and there you go. Yeah, here's a bunch of the photos that I've already taken. Most of them are off my phone, showing a variety of landscapes, different light conditions, some dusk photos, as well as of buildings and that. It's a drone shot of camp, and even some fireworks as well from the 4th of July. So we're going to have a play around with all of these and just see what can happen in terms of resizing, cropping, straightening a couple of the pictures, and otherwise just applying some basic filtering. So for Windows, this is probably the easiest way to do it with using the free software that's built in, which is that you just simply double click to open the image. This shows it in the Photos application, and then up here there's Edit and Create. So you click on that and click on Edit. Alright, from here you can crop and rotate. It's very simple. If you want to crop, you can actually change the aspect ratio to keep it widescreen or more like portrait. You can make a portrait as well, but if you want to get it printed onto a photo, you can do that there to set the aspect ratio correctly. But otherwise, you just grab these little handles depending on what you want to do. So for this one, what I want to try and do is just crop the edges a little bit more, just to make this church the center point of the photo. So for that, you grab the little handle. Now you don't need to drag it in on the diagonal here. It's actually locked the aspect ratio. So, moving it to the left, you can see it keeps that original size. If you're wanting to change that, you basically put it in custom, and now you can make it whatever size you want. So for this, what we're going to do is just scale it down a little bit and make sure that church is sort of roughly in the center. Right, and that's all you basically need to do. If you're wanting to now adjust some of the light functions of it, you come along to this little adjustments section. So you can change the light, which is basically the exposure. So you can overexpose, underexpose, makes it a bit darker, increases the clarity a little bit. Color just is more if you like vibrant. If you want to, completely wash out the photo, put in a bit extra color. Same thing with the clarity. It just helps define the edges a bit more, so it sort of washes things out, defines it. You can see when you go from one extreme to the other, it does actually make it look quite weird. So it's just having a play around just to try and make the things to your liking, really. For me, I like to sort of just darken, sort of like underexpose, I guess you could say, the image a little bit, bump the color up a bit more. You can even just add on a little bit of extra clarity. So it just helps, make it pop a little bit more. Once you've done this and you think it looks nice, you basically save it. Alright, so here is a picture that I've taken on my camera. This is one of camp of Trafton Pond. So what we're going to do is just going to edit this one. In terms of cropping, the only thing I'd maybe want to try and do is get rid of those branches that are hanging down. So because the aspect ratio is the original is locked, I'm actually just going to pull down on this top bar. So I basically want that in the shot. In terms of the adjustments that I want to do, it is low light already, it's a bit dark, so maybe I just want to try and just increase the colors a little bit. I don't want to wash it out. I want to get that red from the sunset, so coming in. But now you can see a bit more of the trees and everything. So because I want this to be like a night shot, I'm just going to decrease the light a little bit. See, so it's just basically just playing around with a bunch of the different settings, just so that you can learn what it is that you're doing. Now, next thing that we're going to do is switch across into Lightroom. So these are the more sort of professional applications. These are the ones that you actually have to pay for to use. They do obviously the same functionality of the cropping and straightening and all that, but there's so much more that you can do with these applications. So to get started with Lightroom in particular, you need to import all the images into your library. So I've done this already. If you need to, you just click the import button, find the folder where you've got your pictures saved, and then you import them. From here, they're down in your little timeline here as we go to develop. Switching across to the develop tab, this is where you can play around with the settings a bunch more. So this is one that I've actually already played around with a bit, which is obviously the 4th of July fireworks at camp. So for night shots, with fireworks in particular, you see there's a bit of the smoke around, you're still seeing a bit of the sky and all that. In terms of what I did to get this shot, it was almost a 3.5 second, 3.2 second shutter exposure at 5 aperture. And I didn't increase the ISO by too much, I only kept it at 400. So I was trying to keep the noise at a minimum, as well as allowing the shutter to be open for a short but decent amount of time to get these light streaks. I didn't want it open any further, any longer, because then it's just going to be too much light coming into the image. And you can see it starting to happen in the center here, where it's starting to just be white. You're starting to lose detail. So I found this a good basis. Generally what I do is I drop the exposure down. That sort of darkens it a little bit more. If you drop it completely, it's just too dark. But you drop it down enough. So I might drop it down to about 2 here, where it just darkens a lot of it. In terms of the next things that I generally try and do is, I just want it to increase the contrast a little bit. This just helps sort of further darken the image, but also makes the colors just pop a little bit more. Whereas if you drop the contrast, you can start seeing the sky a bit bit more again. Next thing that I generally do is you got your highlights and your shadows here. So if you're sort of wanting to see, like, by all means just click on the little handles and just drag them around and you start to figure out what it is that they do. So you can see here with highlights, you can sort of start to see a bit more of the center of the firework, but it is dropping the color of the firework a little bit. It's not as, you know, fireworks are bright and vibrant, so this just sort of drops. I generally just drop it only a little bit, just so you can see a little bit more detail. Same with shadows. I generally drop shadows right down, just for night shots. I think it just helps it just look a little bit better. Again, if you're wanting a little bit of to see the hillside, you can actually increase it or bump the exposure back up. Again, it's just down to preference. Whites and blacks is just, as I say, you can decrease the amount of white in the picture or increase it. So for fireworks, I'm just going to drop it a little bit. Blacks, you know, you can drop it right down, or you just make it a bit brighter. I sort of just drop it just a little bit as well. The last things that I generally try and do here, you know, because I've dropped a lot of the settings there, I want to just increase those colors a bit more. So just bump up the vibrance. You can see that, you know, fireworks and all that just popping a little bit better. That's generally all I'll do in terms of the color correction, the color adjustments. The cropping here is another tool that I use, and I'll show you how to straighten it as well. So if I just want to crop it down a little bit, you know, I want to get rid of the red bits that are down here. This is sort of what I'll try and then do. You know, if I wanted to increase it a bit more, just try and get rid of that little bit of light off to the side. Hit enter, and there we go. The other tool that you can use here is to straighten. So you can either just play around with the angle itself. If you don't know what the angle is, but you have a line that you can draw across, you can actually click on this tool. So we know that the lake level is around about here. So we're just going to draw across that lake level. And it does it automatically for you. Yeah, it's just a better way of fine-tuning all the different settings from the free applications.
So those have been some little tips and tricks to help you on the editing side of things, just to make some amazing creative pictures. Again, make sure you get out there and practice, and you might uncover some more little tips and tricks, as well as some new techniques to try. Thank you so much for watching. Any questions, make sure you put them in the comments down below. Make sure you're subscribed and follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram at Maine Team Camp, just so that you're up to date with when new lessons come out. See ya!